Hi everyone and welcome to Group 1, and our topic for today is Chapter 3 Lesson 1. And Chapter 3 Lesson 1 talks about the information age. So first things first, let's talk about the lesson objectives. So our lesson objectives is about number one is define information age. So in this video we will learn about information age and we will explain about information age. Number 2 is discuss the history of information age. So we will discuss about the information age, and then lastly understand then the factors needed to be considered in checking website sources. So that's all our lesson objectives today. So now let's go to Mr. Berdin to discuss the history of or the timeline of the information age.
My topic is about the history of information age. In 3000 BC, the Sumerian script, also known as a cuneiform, which was a writing system comprised of Sumerian symbols called glyphs. These symbols changed over several millennia, originating as pictorial representation of words before becoming something more like an alphabet. In 2900 BC, the Egyptian hieroglyphs. Hieroglyphic writing, a formal system using image and symbols to represent words and phrases, emerged in the early dynastic period around 2900 BC. Hieroglyphs were used on various materials and for different purposes, including recording royal names, religious texts, and everyday life. In 1300 BC, tortoise shell and oracle bone writing were used for divination and writing in the late Shang dynasty of China, which was roughly correspond to the period around 1300 BC. Objects were primarily used by the Shang rulers to inquire of oracles, usually regarding matters of state, the future, and the gods. At 500 BC, papyrus rolls were primarily used as a writing surface and for record keeping in ancient times, particularly in Egypt and the Mediterranean. They were also employed for various other purposes, including art, documentation, and even some medical uses. In 220 BC, Chinese small seals writing was developed. It is a standardized form of Chinese calligraphy, established during the Qin dynasty. It's characterized by its uniform, thin lines, curves, and circles, and the tendency for each character to fill an imaginary square. These scripts was developed to standardize writing throughout China, replacing the various regional scripts that existed before. In 100 AD, book or a parchment codex, it is a folded stitched notebook made of animal skin, likely a precursor to the modern book. While scrolls were more common at the time, the codex offered more compact and convenient format, allowing for faster access to specific passages and easier note-taking. At 105 AD, woodblock printing and paper were invented by the Chinese. The invention of woodblock printing and papermaking in China revolutionized the reproduction, enabling the mass production of text and images. Moving on, in 1455, Johannes Gutenberg invented the printing press using movable metal type. It is a pivotal innovation that revolutionized printing and had a profound impact on the spread of knowledge and culture, dramatically increasing the speed and efficiency of book production making information widely accessible. Then, in 1775, Samuel Johnson's dictionary, Standardized English Spelling, was published on April 15, 1755, and written by Samuel Johnson. It is among the most influential dictionaries in the history of English language. Johnson's dictionary codified the spelling of English words as well as providing complete and helpful definitions and their meanings. Moving on, 1802, the Library of Congress and the carbon arc lamp. The establishment of the Library of Congress demonstrated a growing commitment to preserving and organizing information. The carbon arc lamp is an early type electric light that produces light by passing an electric current through a gap between two carbon electrodes. Then in 1824, research on persistence of vision was published. Laying the groundwork for motion pictures, the concept explains how the eye retains image for a short period, creating the illusion of movement when images are rapidly displayed. In 1830s, the first viable design for digital computer, and Augusta Lady Byron writes the world's first computer program. Charles Babbage designed for analytical engine, a machine general-purpose computer, and Ada Lovelace algorithm for its represents crucial early steps towards modern computing. Lovelace's works is particularly significant as it considered the first computer program. In 1837, the invention of the telegraph in Great Britain and the United States. The telegraph is a system for transmitting messages over long distances, typically using electrical signals through wires. It involves sending coded signals, often Morse codes, which are then decoded at the receiving ends. The telegraph enabled near instantaneous communication across vast distances using electrical signals sent along wires, revolutionizing long-distance communication. In 1861, motion pictures projected on a screen is the process of displaying motion pictures or movies on a screen. It involves using a projector to illuminate a series of still images on film or digital format, creating the illusion of movement due to the persistence of vision. Motion picture photography is based on the phenomenon that the human brain will perceive an illusion of continuous movement from the succession of still images exposed at a rate above 15 frames per second. In 1876, Dewey Decimal System was introduced. It is a system for organizing library materials, assigning them numbers based on their subject and placing them on shelves in a logical order. The system uses numbers 0 to 999 to represent a broad subject categories with decimal points, subdividing those categories into more specific topics. In 1877, Edward Muybridge, pioneering work in high-speed photography, captured the movement in a series of still images, contributing significantly to the development of motion pictures. He famously captured the first successful photographs of a horse in motion, proving that all four hooves leave the ground simultaneously during a gallop, a landmark discovery that helped dispel a long-standing debate. Muybridge's work also includes studies of human locomotion, contributing to the field of biomechanics and athletics. He invented the zoopraxiscope, a precursor to the motion pictures projector, allowing the sequential display on his photographs, effectively creating moving images. In 1899, first magnetic recordings were released. The magnetizable wire recorder was the first means of field recording and was used as early as 1899. The Danish engineer Valdemar Poulsen is credited with the development of methods by which sounds could be used to magnetize wire, steel tape, or paper tape covered with metallic powder. Early experiments with magnetic recording technology marked a key step towards modern audio recording. In 1902, motion picture special effects were used. In 1902, motion picture special effects were primarily pioneered by George Méliès in his film A Trip to the Moon. His innovations include the stop trick, where the camera is stopped and the objects are changed. Then the camera is restarted, multiple exposures, dissolves, and the use of miniatures and matte painting. These techniques laid the foundation for future special effects in film. The use of special effects in motion pictures expanded the creative possibilities of filmmaking. In 1906, American inventor Lee De Forest introduced a third electrode called the grid into the vacuum tube. The resulting triode could be used both as an amplifier and a switch. De Forest marketed his triode under the name Odeon. The Odeon consisted of an evacuated glass tube containing 3 electrodes, a heated filament, a grid, and a plate. It is used electronic device which could amplify a small electrical signal applied to the grid, could control a larger current flowing from the filament to plate. In 1923, television camera tube was invented by American inventor Vladimir Zworykin, the father of televisions. Conceived 2 components to that invention, the iconoscope and the kinescope. The iconoscope was an early electronic camera tube used to scan an image for the transmission of television. In 1926, the first practical sound movie. The early practical sound movie recognized for introducing synchronized sound was The Jazz Singer. In 1927, this film utilized the Vitaphone system, a sound-on-disc technology which delivers soundtrack with music, singing, and some dialogue.
So 1939. 1939 is regularly scheduled television broadcasting began in the US. So in the US, they start to broadcast through television. This is the beginning of a new era in mass communication in 1939. 1940s. In 1940s, beginning of information science as a discipline. So in this period, they start studying about information science because they saw the emergence of information science as a formal field of study focusing on the organization, retrieval, and management of information. So in 1945, Vannevar Bush foresaw the invention of hypertext. Vannevar Bush foresaw hypertext because he's concerned about information explosion and the difficulty of navigating and accessing scientific knowledge efficiently. So in 1946, ENIAC computer ENIAC computer was developed ENIAC or Electronic Numerical Integrator and Computer. This is the first programmable electronic general purpose digital computer. ENIAC is able to solve a large class of numerical problems through reprogramming. 1948. Birth of field of information theory proposed by Claude E. Shannon. So Claude E. Shannon is the one who proposed the field of information because it used to develop a mathematical framework for understanding and improving communication systems, particularly during World War II, for code breaking purposes. In 1957, planar transistor was developed by Jean Horney. So the use of planar transistor is to facilitate the manufacturing of integrated circuits or microchips. In 1958, first integrated circuit. So the first integrated circuit is Kilby's hybrid, and it was made from germanium by Jack Kilby. So Jack Kilby was the one who invented the Kilby's hybrid in Texas. 1960s, Libraries of Congress developed LC-MARC for machine readable code. The Library of Congress developed LC-MARC, a standard format of bibliographic records. This format, now primarily known as MARC 21, allows libraries to share cataloging information and search all parts of a record. 1969, Unix operating system was developed which could handle multitasking. So Unix is a part of a computer that used in servers, workstations, and embedded systems. Unix is a family of multitasking, multi-user computer operating systems known for its portability and modular design. So 1971, Intel introduced the first microprocessor chip. So the first microprocessor chip is called Intel 4004. Microprocessor is the brain of a computer responsible for executing instruction and processing data. In 1972, optical laser disc was developed by Philips and MCA. So optical laser disc is also known as laser disc or laser vision disc. It's used for storing and playing video and audio content. 1974, MCA and Philips agreed on a standard video disc encoding format. They have agreement because they want to prevent a format war and ensure compatibility between their respective systems. 1975, Altair microcomputer kit was released, the first personal computer for the public. So in 1975, the first personal computer was successfully released. In 1977, Radio Shack introduced the first complete personal computer. So one of the first released computer in 1977 was Radio Shack. It is used in small businesses and was a major contributor to the personal computer explosion. In 1984, Apple Macintosh computer was introduced. The Macintosh or Macintosh was introduced by a television commercial titled 1984 during Super Bowl 18 on January 22, 1984, directed by Ridley Scott. In mid-1980s, artificial intelligence was separated from information science. So, in 1980s, a separation began to emerge between artificial intelligence or AI and information science. Though they were not entirely divorced, this separation stemmed from a shift in AI research, with AI focusing more on problem solving and complex reasoning and information science, broadening its scope to include wider range of information management and technology. In 1987, HyperCard was developed by Bill Atkinson, recipe box metaphor. So in 1987, Bill Atkinson developed HyperCard, a software program for the Apple Macintosh, and it was often associated with the recipe box metaphor. This metaphor refers to the way HyperCard organize information into stacks of cards similar to a physical card index or a recipe box. In 1991, 450 complete works of literature on one CD-ROM was released. In 1991, a CD-ROM was released containing 450 complete works of literature. This was a significant event in the early history of digital media, showcasing the potential of compact disc technology for storing large amounts of information. January 1997, RSA encryption and network security software, Internet Security Code, cracked for a 48-bit number. In January 1997, a team of researchers successfully cracked a 48-bit RSA encryption code. This event highlighted the vulnerability of weaker encryption schemes and the importance of using a stronger encryption method.
Hi everyone, I am Clara Maria Lavin and I will be discussing about the types of computer. So computer are the most important contribution of advances in the information age and society. A computer is an electronic device that stores and processes data information. So there are types of computer. So number one is personal computer, or which known as PC. So it is a single-user instrument. PCs were first known as microcomputers since they were a complete computer but built on a smaller scale that innermost system operated by the most business. So this is the example of PC or personal computer. So the number two, it would be the desktop computer, or it is described as a PC that is not designed for portability. The assumption with the desktop is that it will be the setup in a permanent spot. So when we say desktop computer, so these are the examples of desktop computer system. So it has keyboard, mouse, speaker, or monitor. So number three is laptops. Laptops are portable PCs with an integrated screen, keyboard, and trackpad. So this is the example of laptop. Next would be the personal digital assistant. These are tightly integrated computers that usually have no keyboards but rely on a touchscreen for user inputs. So this is the example. Next would be the server. Server, it refers to a computer that has been improved to provide network service to other computers. Servers usually boast powerful processor, tons of memory, and large hard devices. So this is the example of servers. And second to the last, it would be the mainframes. So mainframes, they are huge computer systems that can fill an entire room. They are used especially by large firms to describe the large, expensive machines that process millions of transactions every day. So this is the example of large mainframes. And lastly, it would be the wearable computers. This involves materials that are usually integrated into cell phones, watches, and other small objects or places. They perform common computer application such as databases, email, multimedia, and schedules. So, one of the example of wearable computers is this watch. This can track also the fitness, exercise, or you would know the kilometer when you have an exercise. So that are the types of computers. Thank you.
The World Wide Web, the Internet. Several historians trace the origin of Internet to Claude E. Shannon, an American mathematician, who was considered as the father of information theory. He worked at Bell Laboratories at the age of 32. Here, he published a paper proposing that information can be quantitatively encoded as a sequence of ones and zeros. The Internet is a worldwide system of the interconnected network that facilitate data transmission among innumerable computer. It was developed during the 90s by the Department of Defense in a case of an attack. Military advisor suggested the advantage of being able to cooperate on one computer from another terminal. In the early days, the internet was used mainly by scientists to communicate with other scientists. The internet remained under government control at 1984, rose in 2014. One early problem faced by internet user was speed. Phone lines could only transmit information at limited rate. The development of fiber optic cables allowed for billions of bits of information to be received every minute. Companies like Intel developed faster microprocessors so personal computer could be processed incoming signal at a more rapid rate. Sergey Brin and Larry Page, director of a Stanford research project, built a search engine that listed results to reflect page popularity. When they determined that the most popular result would frequently be the most usable. After taking with family, friend, and other investor into contributing a 1 million, the researcher launched their company in 1998. Google is now the worldwide popular search engine, accepting that more 20 million queries daily. Back then, new form of communication was also introduced. Electronic mail or email was suitable way to send a message to fellow worker, business partner, or friend. Message could be sent and received.
Good day, everyone. I am Liza May D. Sumalinog, and today we will discussing about applications of science in research. One of the most significant applications of computers in science and research is evident. In the field of bioinformatics, Bioinformatics is the applications of information technology to store, organize, and analyze vast amount of biological data, which is available to form of sequence, structure, and proteins. The build blocks of organism and nucleic acids information center career. Early interest in bioinformatics was established because of a need to create database. The human brain cannot store all the genetic sequence of organism, and this huge amount of data can only be stored, analyzed, and used efficiently with the use of computer. While the initial database of protein sequence were maintained at individual laboratories, the development of consolidated formal database individually known as SWISSPROT, protein sequence database, was initial in 1986. It known as 7,000 protein sequence. From more than 5,000 models organism, a small fractions of all known organism, the enormous variety of divergent data resources is now available for study research by both academic situations and industry. These are made available as public domain information in the larger interest of research community. Though the internet and the CDROMC on request form, these databases are constantly updated with additional entries. Computer and software tools are widely used for generating this database and to identify the functions of proteins, model the structures of database, and to identify the functions of protein, determine the coding useful regions of nucleic acid sequence, find sustainable drug compound from a large pool, and optimize the drug development process by predicting possible targets. Some of the software tools which are handling in analysis include BLAST, used for software tools which are handy in the comparing sequence. Annotator and interactive genomics analyze tools and gene finders tools is to identify coding regions and splice cities.
Let me ask you a question about how to check the reliability of the website or the web sources you are in. So, step 1, you should check who is the author. You should check who is the author of that article or site that you are clicking. So, look for the about or the more about the author so that you can check the reliability of what you're reading. So in this way you can check if the post or is real or not. Second is who published the site. So in this way you can really check if that post or website is real. And the third way is what is the purpose of the site and why the author posted or why the author write it or the publisher posted. So in this way you can really check the reliability of what you're reading, and that's who is in the fourth one is and the fourth one is who is intended audience. Yes, you can also check the reliability by you can also check the reliability by also checking that in that way. The last but not the least is what is the quality of the information provided on the website. Yes, you can really check the reliability by doing all that. So there are so many examples of reliable sources, like for example the Google Scholar. That website is really reliable because a lot of students use that so they can search from their RRL for their research. And also Google Books, yes, and a lot more sources. You can see that on the screen. I will show that to you. So that's all. Thank